All right, Cris Collinsworth here, and Richard Sherman's going to get the week off to enjoy his kids and a little vacation time. And we're going to bring in a Cincinnati specialty. We've got really an outstanding young man in Joe Burrow, who's going to come on the program today. And, of course, he is in so many ways the story of this draft. You know, who does he want to play with? Is it Jamar Chase? Is it Penei Sewell? Is it Kyle Pitts? What are they going to do with the offensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals? How's his rehab going? Just so many stories revolve around Joe Burrow. And the great thing is that this guy has become a bit of an icon already right here in Cincinnati. So we're real excited to have him on the show. Here we go with quarterback Joe Burrow. Well, welcome in my guy, Joe Burrow, because it has been a while since Cincinnati had sort of that spark, had that guy that gave us all hope, that brought us all together. And then they draft Joe Burrow with the first overall pick right after he'd won the national championship at LSU. And Joe, I know you're kind of an Ohio guy, right? You kind of bounced around a little bit. But You had to feel the love in Cincinnati from the very first moment that you showed up here, because people were just pumped. Me too. We were all excited that you were coming in here. And how's it been going so far?
It's been great. You know, I was very excited to come back home as well. You know, I'm about 2.5 hours from home, so I can make it in a short drive. You know, Louisiana's pretty far from Athens, Ohio. So coming back home was fun, and everybody in Cincinnati has been great. The fans are awesome. Organization is awesome. It couldn't be in a better place.
And your family really is a very sports-oriented family, right? I think I even read that your grandmother scored 82 points in a basketball game.
Yeah.
I mean, is that crazy? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. So that was back when they played like 3-on-3 basketball. They didn't let the women play 5-on-5, but my grandpa said that the defenders tried to get on top of each other's shoulders to prevent her from scoring. And it was like they tried to do like a super person to try to stop her.
But it's your whole family, right? I think your dad was a coach for a long time. Yeah. Right? A defensive coordinator. And I read some stories about you at North Dakota State, which maybe didn't mean anything or as much at the time, but North Dakota State now is producing all these top flight quarterbacks that are coming in the league and being able to do it. And then I guess you came to Ohio from there when he took a job at Ohio U. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was born in Ames, Iowa. That was when my dad was coaching at Iowa State, and then we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, when he started coaching at Nebraska, late 90s. So right after I was born, and at the time my brothers were both playing there. Jamie and Dan, they played there from like 97 to 04 consecutively, and then we went to North Dakota State. And then to Ohio U, and we moved there in the middle of second grade, somewhere around there. So Athens is really my home. I just kind of bounced around a lot when I was younger.
It is some Ohio story, which didn't really get to take roots because you did go to Ohio State. You go there and everybody goes, okay, this is going to be this Ohio story that's going to be fantastic. And he ended up with the Bengals, but it didn't work out there. I mean, because of the basically, I guess I think it was JT Barrett who was quarterback at the time, but it was sort of Dwayne Haskins who was going to end up with that role that ultimately led you to LSU. Give me a little bit of that story.
Yeah, so JT was the starter. You know, nobody was beating him out. He was the back-to-back Big Ten Player of the Year. So, you know, he was the guy for 3 years. And then Dwayne, he came in. You know, you'll have to ask the coaches on that one. That's a little above my pay grade. I had a couple injuries, broke my hand my last camp. And so I was out for a couple weeks during the season. But that's a question for them.
That is a question for them. There is no question that as we look back on history, that will definitely be a question for them. But you go to LSU and Coach O down there, and you win a national championship. You get to play your first year, right? You get to play some, and then obviously the next year is the national championship. Now you got to give me at least one Coach O story of going down there. How did he get you? How did he recruit you? How did he make you the starter? Because I could sit and listen to that dude talk all day long. I love listening to him talk. Yeah,
if you ever talk to him, you'll know why I went there. He's one of the best recruiters you'll ever meet. So I actually liked crawfish. There was a crawfish place in Columbus when I lived there that I would always go to. And we were going to a restaurant that didn't have any crawfish, but Coach O made a phone call when we got there, and they brought in some crawfish, boiled it up, and put it out for us. So he must have had a crawfish guy or something. I don't know what happened, but he brought him in, and I mean the rest is history. The first year wasn't. I mean, we went 10-3, I think it was. It wasn't great. Didn't play very well on offense. I didn't play super well, but we won games. And then, the last year we're clicking on all cylinders. Nobody could stop.
So Coach O gets on the phone. He said, "Hey, I got the guy who's going to win us a national championship here. If you just get some crawfish in here, somebody get your ass moving. We got to get some crawfish for this guy in here." Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how it went.
I love listening to him. It was so funny. I guess it was your last year. Maybe it was the SEC title game. I don't know, whatever. When you guys played Alabama, and somebody got hold of like the post-game locker room speech that he gave, which probably was never intended to hit public airwaves, right? But I think we all got a little taste for what it must be like to be in the locker room and listening to him give some of his speeches.
Yeah, he's intense. There's no doubt about that.
You know what's kind of interesting about you, and I always felt this almost from the very beginning, even on draft night when you got drafted. Like, you're a pretty serious-natured kind of guy. And when you came to Cincinnati, it was like this, hey, I'm just here to work kind of thing. Maybe it was the fact that Ohio State, that you had to leave, and despite being, Ohio High School Player of the Year and all the accolades and all that stuff, but maybe that moment of humility that it didn't work out at Ohio State and you had to go prove yourself down at LSU. But by the time that you got to Cincinnati, it was like you had your game face on even from the moment you were drafted. I mean, where does some of that, is that just son of a coach or what is that?
I've just always been serious about my business, whether it's, at the beginning, I thought I was going to be a basketball player. I was shooting with my dad every night in the gym. Then it turned out I was pretty good at football. So, I got in the weight room, did all that. I've just always been super, super serious about my craft, about my business, treated it as a job from a young age. And it's just carried over into actually being a job. And that was my goal the entire time. I treated LSU like a kind of a postgraduate internship. I didn't do a lot of college stuff over there. I got all my college years out of the way at Ohio State. So I've just always been serious about my business.
I had my dad played basketball at the University of Kentucky, and I know that your dad and your whole family has that rich basketball history. I used to go to 9 basketball camps every summer because my dad was the high school basketball coach in the area. So, and my mom was sick of us by that point, being in the house. So she just sent us with him every. So I would go to 9 straight weeks of basketball camp. You would have thought that I would have at least been as good as you were and made first team All State and all that kind of stuff. My brother ended up playing at Florida State. But it really is, there's something about guys that are good football players generally have some kind of basketball background. And I think for you, maybe being the point guard, you know, being a distributor, or what tied one to the other?
You know, I think you really find out somebody's coordination and athleticism when you put them on the basketball court. Some guys look like naturals out there, and then some guys, you just wonder how they're in the league, how they got recruited. They just can't shoot, can't dribble, looks terrible. But basketball, it's more finesse than anything. I don't know. It's just, that was my first love, was basketball. And
me too.
You know, some of my favorite times were like summer league basketball games. You know, the refs were letting you play. It was tough. It was nasty. There were fights out there. It was fun. You know, those are some of my best memories.
You know who has the best of those stories, who also is from Ohio, Middletown, Ohio? Cris Carter and his, you know, family, Butch, everybody, they've got the whole basketball background.
Yeah.
But they would go to the local penitentiary to play basketball. And Cris said that Butch told him, listen, you want to learn how to play basketball? I'm going to tell you how to learn how to play basketball. And he really gave him one bit of advice going in there. He said, if you ever call a foul on anybody, I'm going to kill you. So just you are never allowed to call a foul in here playing with these guys. But he said it was some of the great athletes that he'd ever been around, you know, and it was like these amazing games, but the only place they could get like NBA level experience and NFL level experience, I guess, against those kind of athletes were to go play those games.
Yeah, we didn't have a penitentiary nearby, but you know, we were at the rec center every day and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, you come to Cincinnati, and obviously you know the history. There's a reason that you, as the first player overall, got to Cincinnati, because the Bengals had the worst team, at least the worst record. And when you start down the whole road of the draft process, was there any fear or concerns, you know, because we've heard it before being here in Cincinnati, that certain players don't want to come play here, that blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Did you have any of that about the Bengals or the organization?
No. You know, being from Ohio, this is where I wanted to be. And then you sit down with Zach, and he really, I mean, Zach's unbelievable. He's gonna be great for us for a long time. Me and him have a special relationship, and there was chemistry from the very first meeting that we had at the combine. So this is a dream for me to be quarterback of the Bengals. I mean, it's crazy. From Ohio, it's a lot of fun. We have great players, great coaches, and you know, I think the future is bright.
So tell me about Zach. Most people know absolutely zero about him, right? They know so little of him. As a coach, they know, you know, Sean McVay, they know where he came from. He was at University of Cincinnati, all that kind of stuff. But I've never heard him described like you just described him. Tell me what makes him the guy for you.
You know, a lot of coaches have big egos, and there's none of that. You know, a lot of guys are, you know, this is my system. You know, don't make any checks. You know, this is the way we're going to run it. And it's really a collaboration within the offense between me, Zach, our offensive coordinator, Brian, and Pitch, our quarterback coach. It's really true collaboration, and there's no ego in the entire building. It's a great working environment. And then we have a great leader in Zach who puts us in the right positions to make plays.
You guys on offense, of course, the big question last year, and I don't think I'm breaking any ground here, were concerns about the offensive line. So I never got to do one of your guys' games this year, but I was talking to Brandon Graham from the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Philadelphia Eagles basically tried to kill you. I mean, you took some hits in that game. I was like, oh my God, it was ridiculous. Yeah. So I want to know if this story is true. Brandon came up to me when we're doing an interview with him, getting ready for their game, and he goes, I got to tell you about your guy. And I go, who's my guy? He said, Joe Burrow. I got to tell you about Joe Burrow. He said, we were hitting that guy so hard all game. I mean, it got to be like we were like joking about it over on the sideline. Like, this kid, he keeps getting up. I can't believe he keeps getting up. And he goes, I don't know what we got to do to knock him out of the game. He just keeps getting up. And I guess they hit you one time, and it was sort of a cheap shot or a little late or something like that. And this is Brandon's story now. He said you kind of rolled over, you looked at the referee didn't throw a flag or anything, and he said you turned to Brandon and said, when I'm the GOAT, I'm going to get that call. And I mean, Brandon loves that story so much, he tells it to me every single time I see him. When I'm the GOAT, I'm going to get that call. I want to know, did that happen?
So I don't think I said GOAT. I think I said, in a couple of years when I'm one of the best or I'm the best, something like that, then I'm going to get that call. And I think I was rolling out to the sideline and threw it away. And Fletcher Cox kind of hit me a little late, hit me on the ground. I'm a rookie. I'm not going to get that call yet. But, I was looking for it. And I got up and Fletcher came over to me and he said, hey, bro, you got to stop taking all these hits. They're going to add up. And I looked at him and, Brandon was right there. And I said, when I'm still balling in a couple of years and I'm at the top of my game, I'm going to get that call. And, that was kind of the extent of it.
Well, it's like every other good story. It has grown into a monster proportion in the locker room in Philadelphia. So anytime you play the Eagles, just know that you capture the respect of the Philadelphia Eagles. They were loving telling me that story. That was great. It was great stuff. All right, now I got to go on to the interesting part of this whole thing. So you guys are starting to kind of get it going, right? You got T, you got Tyler, you got a few things, and you're starting to make some plays. I remember watching the Cleveland game on TV and shooting it up and down the field and scrambles that you made against Philadelphia and some of the different things. It's starting to kind of come together. Tell me where you thought the offense was as, the season went along. And, you're working T in and Tyler and all those guys. And the offensive line clearly had some question marks, whether or not they were ever going to be able to protect it. Where had you guys gotten to at the point of the injury last year?
We were getting very, very comfortable with each other. The one area that we weren't very good at were the deep balls. And, for whatever reason, we just couldn't connect on them. But quick game, intermediate play action, we were melding pretty well. And, before the injury, I was getting comfortable with, checks. I was starting to see, because in the NFL, you see some crazy defenses that you've never seen before and looks that teams really shouldn't be able to play, but they play them. I was getting comfortable with my checks in those situations, numbers advantage, rotation, checking backside routes, checking three-man concepts to the field. And we were starting to roll. We were playing – I got hurt in the Washington game, and they were the number one pass defense in the league, and we had 200 yards at halftime throwing. So, we were rolling. And, the offensive line, we had a lot of injuries. Against the Titans, I think we had 4 guys out, and we signed someone on Thursday, and he ended up starting the game on Sunday without any knowledge of the offense. So, we had some adversity, but we were starting to get it rolling. And this year, I think we're going to take a big step.
Yeah, we're hoping we take a big step. I was happy just to see you walking around the house there a little bit in the way that you were. So give us a little bit of a report. First of all, so when you're the first overall pick, you won a national championship, you're beloved in Cincinnati, the whole thing, it's like everything's going right. Even the offense is starting to go right in the right direction. And then I've never had a knee injury like that. I've had an Achilles thing. I've had some different things. But generally, right away, right? And you could kind of tell with what was going on the field. when they came out there and they asked you what it was, and what was the moment like when you knew?
No, I really don't remember what I was saying. I just remember two guys falling into my leg and getting pushed from the right, and basically my knee dislocating a little bit. So there was no doubt in my mind I wasn't going to be playing anymore after that. So that was tough, but it's feeling really good right now. Rehab's going awesome, ahead of where I should be. So, things are looking up.
I saw an interview with your mom, Robin, right, and your dad, Jimmy, the other night, and basically they were saying that you're like every kid, you're like my kids, trying to get some bit of information out of you guys is impossible, but said that that you were actually getting closer, maybe within a month or so, of being able to start throwing to receivers and being able to do that sort of stuff. I mean, what are you doing now? Are you walking, jogging? Can you do any extensions? What is it that you can do right now?
Yeah, I'm lifting normally, squats, all that, running.
Really?
Yeah. And the last about week and a half, last week I had my first real throwing session. So I'm dropping, doing play action, all that. Still can't roll out and throw yet, but I'm taking drops, we don't have any receivers here yet, so I'm throwing to equipment managers for rehab, but it's feeling really good right now.
If you need a really old receiver who runs really slowly now, just give me a call.
We need you.
I want some of those gloves that you can't drop passes with. I still can't. I watch guys catch the football now, and I go, what do they put on those stinking gloves? It's like, oh my God, it's unbelievable what they can do catching the football now. It's just so much fun. So the other huge topic in town right now is obviously the draft. And it kind of directly involves you, like everything else does in the universe right now. But everybody's going, all right, what do you want? Right? And the question is, and I remember the movie North Dallas 40. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie or not, but the quarterback is like best friends with the wide receiver. And the wide receiver, and they're always talking and yip-yapping, and and the quarterback makes a statement because he was comparing the wide receivers to the offensive line. And he was like, he said, you wide receivers, you guys keep me in the headlines. But these guys, they keep me out of the obituaries. And I'm like, there's something to that here as we go into the draft for the Cincinnati Bengals right now, because everybody wants to know, is it going to be Penei Sewell? Is it going to be Jamar Chase? Is it going to be Kyle Pitts? Are they going to trade down? Are they going to – and so often, I'm sure the organization has at least talked to you because you know Jamar so well with all your time together at LSU. How much have you been involved, and have you offered up a strong opinion about what you would like to have?
I haven't offered up any strong opinion.
Well, let me give you a couple then.
I'm great friends with Jamar. We've been talking for a year since we stopped playing together. We talked, last week. So I'm great friends with Jamar. I know the kind of player that he is, but I think we're in a great spot. I think a lot of the picks in front of us will be quarterbacks. Not sure how many of them, but I think a lot of them will be. So I think we're in a good spot to just take the best available, especially after the free agency that we had. We signed a lot of really good players, got a lot of help on defense, signed Riley Reif at tackle. He's going to help us a lot. So we're in a really good spot. And, I trust the organization to do what they do and do their jobs and pick the best player.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to the Riley Reif recruiting story here in a minute. But Jamar, and you hit on it earlier, your numbers, your PFF numbers, if you will, are kind of off the charts, 20 yards and under, right, for the Cincinnati Bengals. Your PFF numbers, 20 yards or more with LSU, were the ones that were off the charts, because you guys, it was unbelievable. You and Jamar, with some of the deep balls and his ability to go up and make plays, even though he's not a 6'4" or 6'5" kind of guy, was pretty outstanding. And then you watch him run in the 4.3s at the pro day. I really didn't know that he had that in him, but you could tell you either. But you could tell that he spent the year off because he didn't play last year, right? He opted out of last year, but his body looks bigger and stronger. He looked faster. He looked really confident catching the football on his pro day. You know him better than anybody. What did you think when you were watching the pro day?
I didn't watch the pro day. I know what Jamar can do. I didn't have to watch the pro day. He's a lot like me. He was in there every Saturday with me, throwing, get up early. He's that kind of guy. So he's a great person, great dude, great player. He's going to have a long, very good, successful career.
What did you think made him different on deep balls than other guys? Because there was real magic between the two of you guys. There just was. I mean, I played the position for a long time in the NFL, and there are some guys that just have a connection with certain quarterbacks, and there was no doubt that your level of trust in him was pretty much off the charts.
Certain receivers just have a way of getting separation at the top of the route, whether they're accelerating past them, whether they give a little push, but he's good at hiding it. Whatever it is, he's got that receiver ability to just run past people. And he ran the 4.38. I think that's what it was, 4.38, but I didn't expect it. Nobody's catching him though. So he just has a great way of getting open. He has a great feel for zone, great feel for man. He just really understands it all. He's a complete player.
Yeah, one of your other guys, Justin Jefferson, ends up being the story of the year, really, from a receiver position last year at Minnesota. Did he surprise you at all? Because, when he was playing in the slot so many times, he was sort of methodical coming off the ball, but he was quick, had great top of the breaking point kind of moves. But nobody really saw him as that outside receiving, deep receiving threat. And then he ran a great time at the combine or whatever they did last year. But did you know that he had all that in him?
Yeah, I could have told you he was going to have this kind of year.
Really?
A year and a half ago. Yeah, he's a special player. He's a lot like Jamar. He understands zone, man. He played outside for us my junior year. He was our Z, and people just forget about it because we weren't that explosive team, down the field team in 2018. But he's obviously one of the best right now, and I could have told you that a year ago.
Wow. It's really been fun to watch. And this Penei Sewell, who's like a baby still, he's going to be 20 or 21, something like that, and didn't play last year, but you could just see the raw power in this guy. You guys do end up with another offensive lineman in Riley Reif, who probably, I guess, is going to play right tackle. Jonah Williams probably play left tackle for you guys. I guess you could take a Penei Sewell. Would he play guard? We've sort of been debating all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, he's a great player, but for this year on this team, is this just a pick? Maybe you only get Riley Reif for a year or whatever, where ultimately he becomes the left tackle. And so there'd be a lot of different things that go along with that as well. So, and then you got Kyle Pitts, who's sitting out there, who it's entirely possible somebody trades up with Atlanta to the number 4 pick, takes a quarterback, and literally the Bengals have the choice of anybody in this draft that they want who's not a quarterback, which would be a pretty amazing choice as well.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in. Unfortunately, we're picking 5. We wish we would be picking 32, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So we're in a good spot to take the best player available. I'm not watching film on any of these guys. I'm just seeing highlights. So, the organization knows more than I do, and they'll make the best pick.
Boy, this Kyle Pitts out of Florida. Now, he's not – I'm going to give you my one knock on him. My one knock is that he's not a great stop and come back to the ball, comebacks, hooks. He's a little slow coming out of the breaks. He has a catch radius, though, like I've never seen. And when he gets the ball in his hands, it is over. I mean, he looks like a world-class sprinter running away from people down the field. And that sort of optionality of occupying the middle of the field, I tend to have been over exactly what we've been talking about. I kind of like Jamar in this situation because I feel like you've got, with Tyler and T, you've got two guys that can, control the middle of the field a little bit. And if you just had that take the top off kind of guy, you might start being in some of those games where you have to score 30 points to win.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong. There's so many great options, and that's the perk of picking so high and not being a very good team. But Jamar, I'm very comfortable with Jamar. Like I said, we have great chemistry, talking to him all the time. But we're in a good position.
Well, he seems like a good guy. If you had this is the question that you're going to get asked for the rest of your life, or at least the rest of this year. What's your gut, and what have the Bengals been telling you about camp, starting the season on time? I've heard everything. Of course, I know everybody in Cincinnati. So, but I've heard, oh, this was a horrible knee situation. Oh, it wasn't that bad. He's going to be fine for camp. What have you been told? What's your gut feeling on being a factor in the 2021 football season?
I'm expecting to play game one. That's my expectation. I'm expecting to take part in practice. I'm feeling really good. I'm ahead of schedule. We're about halfway through the rehab process right now. It's about 4.5 months out of surgery. It's about a 9-month recovery process. So there's still a long way to go. There's still opportunities for setbacks, but the way I'm feeling right now, I'm very optimistic that I'll be ready for game one.
And what does Mom and Pop have to say? Are they because I just know how I would be. I would be like, Joe, come on, man. You're going to play till – look at these guys. Brady's going to play till he's 165 years old. You got a long career ahead of you. Don't rush this back. I know you've been hearing this. Parents, we're all like the worst, right? You get it done. Take care of yourself. Doesn't even matter if you take the year off. I mean, do you hear some of that, and does that register with you?
I don't really listen to any of that from anybody. I don't know if my parents might tell me. If they do, I just block it out and then kind of ignore it. But I'm
just like every kid. There you go.
I'm very optimistic about where I'm at, and also where the team's at. Rehab's going very, very well, and lifting is going very, very well. I'm in great shape. Legs feel good. Knee feels good. So there's still a long way to go, but I'm expecting to be there on the first snap of 2021.
Well, I'm renewing my season tickets then, even though I never get to go to the game. So there it goes. Joe, we're really proud of you. You represent us all so well. You have a great demeanor, a great personality. And before I let you crawl out of here, I've got to hear the story about Riley Reef getting recruited, because my buddy Jeff Ruby, whose restaurant you were in when it happened, he gave cigars or he gave whatever, is now claiming full credit for signing Riley Reef. Did Jeff Ruby have anything to do with it? And how did you get him signed in the Precinct restaurant?
Well, I think it definitely helps having those great steaks. And, that's one of the best steakhouses I've ever been to. And, Riley said the same thing. It was a great night. Had fun at dinner. Riley's a great dude. Jeff came by, say hello. So it was a good night, and we're lucky to have Riley.
Well, anytime Jeff gives up one of his cigars for free, he doesn't give up anything for free. That you must have had a big impact on him that night. But hey, tell your mom and dad I said hello. I enjoy watching them on television too. They're a fun interview to do, and proud of you. We're all cheering for you and praying for you, and hope that knee comes back even better than what it was. And really appreciate you taking some time with us.
Yep, appreciate it, Cris. Thanks.
All right, special thanks to Joe Burrow. He's a tremendous young man. Want to remind everybody that draft night is Thursday, April 29th, and we have an draft night extravaganza. What a show we have that evening. We're going to start it at 7 p.m., and you're going to get everybody who's associated with this draft and watching all the film. We're going to have so many ideas and opinions and celebrities that come popping in. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as you get ready to watch that draft show, don't forget the NFL podcast right here with PFF, the 2-for-1 draft show with Mike and Austin, who really know more about all of these picks. It's remarkable what they have. And their NFL draft guide is like in every draft room right now, over 300 players completely broken down. All you have to do is sign up for Edge or Elite and you get that. And of course, the PFF forecast, all those things. And they're all directed now towards the draft. So get yourself educated. It'll make that Thursday night even more special. So draft night, April 29th, starting at 7 p.m. right here on PFF.